Welcome to the TimCo Retail Manager course. This course focuses on real-world application development. In this video, we're going to be adding the API endpoints to support administrative interfaces for tasks such as adding inventory and reviewing sales. Now, Patreon members, don't forget to head over to my Patreon site to get the source code for today's video. Now, if you aren't a Patreon member and you're interested in getting the source code for each TimCo Retail Manager video, head on over and sign up at the $5 per month level or higher. You'll also get other perks like the newly released tour of my office as well. Now, this course is closing in on the date when we convert it over to .NET Core. So make sure you subscribe to this channel so you get alerted when new videos come out. You won't want to miss it when we do convert over. We might even throw a party. Okay, let's head on over to Visual Studio. Now, we're going to work today on a couple of things. We're going to work in the database, probably create some store procedures for things like viewing the inventory and adding to the inventory. And we're also going to work on the API itself to create endpoints for that data. Now, typically we do something like this, a design like this on paper. But I'm going to bring Notepad up here, and we're just going to do a really rough sketch to figure out what we need to do in this particular section. So let's talk through it. The first thing we need to do is we need to have a get inventory, which gets all the existing inventory. Just some kind of list that says, okay, here's the inventory we have. And that's just basically a information dump. And in fact, it gets bigger and bigger, and so we may have to limit it in some way in the future. But I think we should have at least a lookup to say, here's all the entries in the inventory. That way you know, did we already enter this inventory or not? Then we have to have some type of insert into the inventory. And what that will do is add a new inventory record. We also should look at our products table. So if you don't already have one, get products. I think we do. And the get products should give us the current products and how much of them are in stock. Because remember, we have 3 different tables that deal with products. The inventory is when we buy stuff in bulk. Let's just say we're buying frying pans. And so we buy 30 frying pans from ABC Warehouse. And so we make that purchase, we put that inventory purchase into our records. So we know we bought 30 frying pans at $300 total, thus $10 per frying pan. We then modify our product table to add 30 frying pans to the frying pan product. So you increase the inventory count of our product table. And then when we make sales, we should be, and we're not right now, we should be decrementing our product by that many items. Okay? So at get products will tell us what's getting low and what has plenty of inventory. And is there anything else we need to do for the inventory side? I don't think there is, but let's add one more thing here, and that is just a really quick sales page. So let's have a get sales that gets a summary of sales. That way the manager or the owner can look over how our sales doing, what's selling, what's not, what's the income per day, those types of things. And so that'd be a get sales. So those are the things we're going to tackle today. We're going to create the store procedures if necessary. We're going to create the models to populate, and we're going to create the API endpoints to either view the information like these gets, or to take the information, probably a post, like this insert inventory. Okay? We're not going to wire up to a front end today. We're just doing the data side of things. So I think that's a good list. Let's take this off to the side, and I'll keep an eye on it, but you don't have to see it on your screen. And let's look at our stored procedures. And we do have a product get all, which gets all the products in the product table, including the quantity in stock. So that's good. We already have that. We don't need it. And if you come down here to our controller, our product controller, we do call the get product, which gets a list of products. We already have that one. We don't need to recreate it. We use this for our sales page, but we'll use it again for our administrators to look over what the inventory or what the products in stock list looks like. But now we need to have something for inventory. We need some way of saying, give us the list of everything that has been purchased recently for the inventory. So let's just do a really simple select from, not limit it in any way at this point. In the future, once we have thousands and thousands of entries and they go back years, yeah, we'll probably limit it by the past 30 days or something like that. This is just informational so the owner can look over and say, did you enter that inventory they purchased into the system or not? So let's create a stored procedure. I'm going to start from the database and work my way up. I'm going to create my model next, and then create my data access, and then from there create the API endpoints. So we're going from the bottom up. Let's call this SP inventory to follow our naming convention over here, underscore get all. And we don't need to have parameters. And let's actually wipe out these right here. Have our begin and our end, and in between we'll set no count on. And then we're going to do select star from dbo.inventory. And I'm going to do my control dot here, which isn't working right now. But if I right click and say refactor, I should be able to expand the wildcards. And that will expand it to the 5 columns in my table. So there we go. So now we have a SP inventory get all. Now let's create another store procedure. So I'm going to right click and say add again, new store procedure, and this one will be SP inventory insert. And for this, we do need to have some values being inserted. Let's come back over here and grab these 4 right here. Just going to copy them, and for right now, just paste them in here as placeholders so I know the 4 values to bring in. And we'll do our set no count on. So we have something in there. And then here for our placeholders, we have product ID, which let's look over what the definitions are for inventory. We have an int, a money, and a date time too. So at product ID, int, at quantity, int, at purchase price, money, and at purchase date, date time 2. Okay, so that's going to follow exactly what's in the inventory here. Now, the one thing that is debatable is this purchase date. Do we want to pass that in, or do we want to have the system automatically insert for us what that date is? So the question is, do we allow people to say, I purchased, on Friday, let's say, they say, I purchased this inventory, but I purchased it back on Monday? Or do we say whenever you put the purchase in is when you got it? And I think we do want to allow them to pass in a date. Otherwise, it kind of limits us. So let's make sure that we allow them to pass in a date so they can be a little more flexible in how they do this. Okay, now I can say insert into dbo.inventory, and it's going to be product ID, quantity, purchase price, and purchase date. Values, product ID, quantity, purchase price, and purchase date. And there we go. Now we have our insert store procedure done. The last store procedure we talked about, because we already have the SP products get all, the last store procedure we talked about was some sort of summary of the sales. So just information on what sales happened when. And I think all we need for this is the sale date, the subtotal of tax, and the total. Or maybe just sale date and total. But I think we'll send all three of these values in because there may be different value in knowing each of these. For example, if an owner is looking at how much money am I bringing in, really they're looking at the subtotal field because the tax doesn't go to them. It's not something they keep. Therefore, they're actually looking at the subtotal. If they're looking at how much money did I process today, maybe the total. And so let's let them choose what they want to see. So we'll pass all three of those plus the sale date. We won't pass any details in for the record. And I don't think we really care about the cashier ID who made this sale. But now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we should group this by who made the sale so that we know, is one cashier doing really well and another struggling or not. And so we do have the user information we can pass along, like the first name, last name, and maybe even email address. So let's do that. Let's pass that information as well, make it a little more useful. So let's right-click on Store Procedure. We're going to add a new store procedure. I'm going to call it SP Sale _ and what do we call this? Probably Sale Report or Basic Sale Report, something like that. I think Sale Report's fine. The nice thing is we can refactor this if we need to. So now we say begin and end, and we'll do our set no count on. And now let's do a select star from dbo.sale. Let's start there, and we'll call this the S. We're going to give an alias, so S. And then we're going to do a join, so an inner join, because we know that they're going to align 1-to-1. So meaning we're going to have a match for each one. We're not going to have any missing matches. So we're going to inner join on dbo dot, and this is going to be user u on s dot, and the sale is going to be here. You know what? I think that is going to be a reserved word, and it looks like it is. So s dot cashier ID equals u dot ID. So that's going to link the cashier ID to the ID in the user table. That will allow us to be a little more clear about who this person is. Instead of a GUID, we'll have first name, last name, and email address. So now let's say s.star. I'm going to do, again, control dot doesn't work, but right-click, refactor. Expand wildcards. Going to hit apply. And now it says s.id, which I don't care about. I'm not going to capture the ID of the sale. I'm not going to capture the cashier ID, just sale date, subtotal, tax, and total. And then I also want u dot first name, u dot last name, and u email address. Those are the values that I want coming back. I'm not going to filter this anyway. Again, eventually put some filters on this for date ranges that you can pass in and say, okay, a sale report for this month or this quarter. But for right now, I think this is just fine. So now we have a store procedure that returns these values for a sale report. I think we have all of the data we now need going in and out. And now we can look at let's collapse the API and open up the API's library and look at the models and the data access. So data access, right now we have sale data where we have save sale. And that's all we have right now. And I'm going to leave this open because right down here we do have a kind of model of how we can do data access. Now we're not going to use a transaction for this, but we at least have, okay, we grab the SQL data access and do some work. Let's look up here. Yep, this has got some blank lines at the end. Let's clean that up. Like so. And there's a model of the get products, which I'm not sure why that's even there. So we're going to get rid of that in just a minute. But first, let's do a public. And we need a list of, this is get sale, so a list of sale. And this is going to be sale report model, which you don't have yet. And we'll create that in just a minute. And this is get sale report. Okay. Get sale report. And we don't have to pass any parameters in. So let's create now this model just right here for now. Actually, no, let's do it right. Let's do it over here. It's going to make it a little easier. So new class, we're going to call this the sale report model. Make it public. And the things we need to add to this are all in this sale report. We need sale date, subtotal, tax, and total. So let's do this. Let's make it a horizontal like this. And now we have down at the bottom our list of items to put in this model. We can just start typing it out. So date time, sale date. This is decimal, subtotal. And this is tax, which is a decimal. This is total, which is also a decimal. This is a string for first name, last name, email address. There we go. So now we have our model called sale report model that is going to come from this query. So now that resolves. Now all we need to do is actually get our data. SQL data access, SQL equals new SQL data access. Again, we don't have dependency injection in place yet. We want to do that. So var output equals SQL.load data of type sale report model. Oops, we need to pass in also dynamic. Actually, I'm not sure we do. Let's find out. So we can say dbo.sp, and it's sp sale underscore sale report. And new empty object, and we want it to come from TRM data. Like so. I don't know we have to pass in dynamic. It's been a little bit since I did this. Oh, we do. Good to know. So now we have this call. You see how easy that was for data access? yes, we had to manually create some stuff. And so for those of you who like the entity framework or something like that, it's nice to have it create for you automatically. But we've handwritten this the way you want it, and we know that the query is optimized, and it is not a lot of lines of code to get this data out. And now we just return output. And now we have a method called getSaleReport that returns for us the information we need in a list. All right, now I can wipe out that comment that's hanging out down there. And we've got the first part done of our data access, which is getSaleReport. Now let's create something for inventory, which we don't have anything for inventory yet. So add new class, inventory data. Make it public. And we're going to do a public list of type, and it's going to be just inventory model, which again we don't have yet. And this is going to be get inventory, like so. And again, let's open up the inventory, whoops, not the table, the store procedure. And we'll split this down to the bottom. And up here, we're going to add a new model, new class, and this is going to be the inventory model. Make it public. And inside here, we need to add a few things, the ID, product ID. We are passing an ID here, or passing back ID. And I think we do want this for this inventory, just in case we decide to add something. No, you know what? I don't think we need this ID. Because this is not the product table where we're saying we want to add more to this product ID. This is the inventory ID, which is just one entry where we added inventory. Unless we're going to allow edits to our existing inventory, we're going to leave this alone. And for now, that means leave it alone. So let's save that and say prop product ID is an int, prop quantity, whoops, quantity, and then purchase price is a decimal, and purchase date is a date time purchase date. Now we have our inventory model. We can do a control dot here to add the using statement. Don't need that Rosalind message. And now we can say SQL data access, control dot, add the using statement. SQL equals new SQL data access. var output equals SQL dot load data. And this is of type inventory model. And it's dynamic as the next one. Our store procedure is dbo.sp inventory underscore get all. And pass in a new empty parameter set. We don't need anything. And it is TRM data that we're after. Return output, and we're done. We've now created something to get the inventory for our store. Now, the inventory table we're not done with quite yet, because we also want to have a public void save inventory record. I believe that follows the same pattern of save sale. That looks about right. Save inventory record. So with this, we're going to pass in an inventory model. Let's call it item, not inventory. So with this, now we need to do an insert. So we're going to do our SQL data access, and then we're going to say SQL.SaveData, and this is of type T, and that's going to be of type, actually I don't think we have to specify. So dbo.sp inventory underscore, is it insert? Yes, insert. The parameters are item, and the connection string name is trm data. I don't have to specify the type for T because of the fact that I'm passing in this item, which is of type T. Therefore, it reads that and goes, okay, I know what that is. And now we're done with that. Okay, so now we can move to the next level up, which is our API itself. So let's shrink that down and go to our API. And in our API, we're going to add information. Let's start with sale data. Because right now we have posts, but we also want to have a get for the sale report. So let's create a public list of type, and our type is going to be, I forget, sale report model. There we go. Sale report model. And this is going to be get sales report. Like so. We don't need to pass anything in. And we're going to give this a specific route. So route is going to be get sales report. So sales / get sales report. And then inside here, we can say sale data equals new sale data. And then we're going to get that information. So return data dot get sale report. And that's going to return this report. Now, right now, we have it on authorized. We'll probably turn that off temporarily just so that we can read these values quickly, or maybe not, we'll see. But this just allows us to get that sales report. And notice I set up a custom route here because the post doesn't need a route. It's just /sale, and it's going to then, if a post call is made to just /sale, then, or API /sale, then it's going to call this method. But I don't want this to be a get call for /sale because that doesn't seem quite right. Instead, I want to have API /sale / get sales report. And that's going to give me my sales report. Now, eventually, like I said, we'll test this by turning off authorized temporarily just to make sure it works quickly, and then we'll turn authorized back on. But then what we're going to do is, not in this video, but probably the next video, we're going to work on administrative control. So we're going to add a role for administrators, and then we're going to say that this this particular endpoint is only accessible by people in the administrative role, or maybe the manager role or something like that. We're going to specify only a certain subset get access to this. But for right now, we're just getting these endpoints in place. Now let's add new controller. So right click, add new controller. This is going to be an API controller that's empty. We're going to call this inventory controller. And this will have an authorize as well that, again, we're going to turn off temporarily. So I'll even just start with it turned off. And then we're going to have something similar to what we have here. So let's just, actually right here. So let's just copy and paste this. And instead of sale report, which we can control dot to add the using statement, even though it's not the right using statement. I mean, it is the right using statement. It's not the right class, but that using statement is the same for both of them. So instead of sale report data, we're going to have our inventory model. And let's just say get. We don't have to have a route or anything. We can just do a get. And not sale data, but inventory data equals new inventory data. And data dot get inventory. And that's going to get the inventory for us. Next, we need to have an endpoint for that save, which is a post. So public void post. And we need to pass in an inventory model. And we'll create our inventory data. Like so. And then we're going to say data dot save inventory record. And we're done. So that should be everything we need. So let's go back to the sale here, and we're going to comment this out as well. So the three different endpoints we added were get sale report or sales report, and the get for the inventory and the post for the inventory. Let's run this now with no authorized, so basically anybody can read this information. And let's also check while this is going. Let's go to our Object Explorer and look at our inventory table and make sure we have inventory in there. We should. So this is the TRM data table, inventory, view data. We have nothing. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem. We'll add something in there real quick just to have something. And then, actually, no, we'll call the insert. And then we'll call the view or the get. That should work. So let's come back over here. Let's start with a sale controller. So let's go first of all to Postman, or Swagger, Swagger. And we have our sale table. Notice inventory showed up. And now we have get sales report. And let's try it out. And it says, could not find store procedure dbo.spsale_sale report. What did we do wrong? You probably already know. In our table, we created these store procedures. In our database, we created store procedures. We never actually published those. So if we create our publish right here and just say, go ahead and publish those changes to our database. And now it should be that we can run this. Let's bring us back over again and run our Swagger again. Go to our sale and say, get me a sales report and try it out. And it says, cool, I've got sales report data. Here's all the sales report data. So for example, on this date, we sold a subtotal of $348.20. We had $30 in tax for a total of $378. The cashier's name was Tim Corey. Cool. So that works. So now let's look at our inventory and let's first do a get, which should return no records. Response by has no records, but did respond with a 200, which is success. Now let's go to our post, and here the really cool thing is we can just copy or click on this and paste it over here and say the product ID, which I have no clue what the product ID is. So let's go look at real quick at the product table so we can get a real product ID and not mess this up. Product IDs are 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's pretty simple. I can probably remember that. So number 2 is a skillet. Let's do it number 2. And the quantity is 50. The purchase price is really simple, 500. No authorization token needed because I turned that off temporarily. I'll hit try it out, and the response is a 204, which is a success code. Now if we go to inventory for a get and try it out, we have one value, product ID of 2, quantity of 50, purchase price 500, and the purchase date was that date right there. So now we have our API working correctly. I do wonder if with our get call for our inventory, if we should link over to what the product actually is and say 10-inch skillet. Maybe we should add that, maybe we shouldn't. You tell me. You tell me if you think that's necessary for this particular list. Because we'll have a different place where we'll have our list of products in a drop-down where we create these insert statements. But for viewing it, should we bring over the product name? So that's a question for you. Answer down in the comments down below. But I think we've now accomplished our mission. But before we're done, safety first, let's go back to our inventory controller and turn on authorized, and our sale controller and turn on authorized. Now, like I said, we're going to take this to the next level and not just be if you're authorized, but only if you are in a certain role can you do these actions. So that's probably our next video we'll tackle, but I think this is a good stopping point. We've got everything up through our API working. We can go and select all of our changes, which are pretty significant, and stage them and say add admin endpoint data as the data for administrative endpoints does not yet secure the endpoints beyond authorization. Sounds about right. We hit commit to stage, or commit the create the commit. There we go. Boy, my words aren't working tonight. And I'm going to do a fetch to make sure there's nothing on the server. There shouldn't be. And now I'll do a push to push that new commit up to my Azure DevOps. Actually, no, it goes to GitHub. We're using Azure DevOps for everything else, though. Okay. So that is how we create those endpoints and how we kind of designed them. So we designed them first in Notepad and said, okay, these are the things we need. And then started at the database level and moved our way up through the layers of our application and until we got to our endpoints. And along the way, each step is really simple. There's not much to it. So that's the mark of a good design, is you don't have to have all these complicated things around getting data or saving data. It's really just pass this information to the right spot and do it. And even in our true data access down here, we're actually doing the work. That work is load data. Really simple stuff. Okay? So that's it for this video. The next video we'll probably talk about that administrative role information. Okay? Thanks for watching. And as always, I am Tim Corey.